But we're not going to start with the letters from leaders. Usually we start with letters from leaders. Today we're going to start with Venezuelan state media. And specifically because I think there's like two things. It's like one, first of all, you call yourself like, and this is a general you call yourself like an anti-imperialist, an anti-colonialist, and then you just take imperialist sources at their word when they say socialist states have fallen or socialist states are complying with capitalist demands. And then the other thing is like, I find it extremely perplexing that people who understand that they live in the imperial core and they are sheltered and protected by the act of living in the imperial core, and so not living in Cuba, not living in Venezuela, not living in the DPRK, and going, well, that's not real communism. That is not real socialism. You are living in the imperial core. You are living in the worst of the worst capitalist systems that you possibly could be. It is absurd to say that people who have bombs falling on them, people whose president has been violently extracted with over 80 deaths, civilian deaths in the process, and over 40 deaths of their guard, armed military guard trying to protect him. You can't call that like a failure to protect socialism when they are being violently attacked by the imperial core, the core that you are speaking from. Just because they have been attacked does not mean that they are not practicing socialism anymore. Just because their president has been kidnapped does not mean they are not practicing socialism anymore or they have abandoned their revolution. When you look at their state media, when you listen to the words of the people who are living in Venezuela, who are surviving these violent operations by the American regime, when you listen to them, they keep reaffirming their plan to support the people of Venezuela, to support the Bolivarian Revolution. They keep rejecting accusations that they have been working with the opposition, and they are still working with the people. I don't understand why we are taking Reuters at their word and we're not taking Venezuela at theirs. If we are truly anti-imperialists and anti-colonialists, if we are truly socialists who are supporting socialists, we should be taking Venezuela at their word over any press or media from the imperial core. It doesn't make sense. And so whenever I'm online and I'm scrolling through TikTok and people are like, oh, it really sucks what's happening in Venezuela right now. If Hugo Chavez could see what's happening in Venezuela right now, Hugo Chavez would understand all of it. Hugo Chavez would be participating in the protection of Venezuela the way they are currently doing it. It doesn't make sense to talk about Venezuela or Cuba like this. You are living sheltered, happy, safe, completely happy. No matter what's happening in your life right now, comparatively, you are happy and safe.
9 out of 10 of those dollars goes to build the infrastructure to subsidize the capital investment of the private corporation.
Thank you so much for the bits, Comrade Cunt. By the way, for everyone who knows, Comrade Cunt had their name censored by TikTok, and TikTok is going to uncensor their name, but they still have to wait the 60-day policy to change their name back. So Comrade Censored is Comrade Cunt. We will not censor their name, but thank you, Comrade Cunt, for the bit donation. So we're going to read a bunch of articles from Venezuelan state media, articles that are talking about Delcy Rodriguez, articles that are talking about the General Secretary of the Communist Party. We are going to read them, and we are taking them at face value. Because if communists in America are taking American media at face value without being critical about what they are reading, we're going to have to apply the same methodology to our allies, which is Venezuela, which is Cuba, which is the DPRK, which is China, which is Vietnam, Laos, Burkina Faso. We can't just let communists just give up on actually existing socialist states from within the imperial core. So that is the plan today. Oh no, you're fine. Welcome in, Bisco Witch. I'm going to go to the top and say hello to everyone, and then we're going to get started. So welcome in Smash. Welcome in Autistic Baddie. Welcome in London's Best Gay, Comrade Cunt, of course. The Kami Jesus, Caltamoose. Welcome in. Obsis, hello. Good evening, Obsis. Good morning to everyone else, even though it's the same time zone for me and Obsis. Hello, Garnet Grell. Jonathan Ross, good morning. Salsa Stark. Astro Stim. Weebcore. Chubby Shark. Is that everyone? And Bisco Wedge, hello. Good morning, everyone. All right, let's get started on reading. This is AVN, this is Venezuelan State Media, and I'm just going to post the main link because I have a bunch of articles from. We're going to start with this, and then we're going to go backwards in time. This was published on June 17th. It was updated June 17th. And it is about President Maduro's hearing in New York, which is being postponed until July 22nd. They were supposed to have a hearing on June 30th. This was published in Caracas. That says the next court hearing for President Nicolas Maduro and First Lady Celia Flores, originally scheduled for June 30th, has been postponed to July 22nd. The measure was taken by the federal judge of the Southern District of New York, Alvin K. Hellerstein, following a request from federal prosecutor Jay Clayton, international media reported. So the federal prosecutor asked for a delay in the court case. The request was made with the consent of the defense lawyers and seeks to avoid logistical and scheduling problems with the provision of safe transportation and security. Furthermore, it is anticipated that between the period between June 30 and the new hearing date will be excluded from the time limits established by the Fast Track Trial Act so that legal representatives can evaluate the evidence and determine the filings of any pretrial motions they deem appropriate. So the time period in this month is being excluded from the Fast Track Trial Act so that they can evaluate any pretrial motions that they want to apply, and then the time limit will take off once more. Will continue once more. Likewise, this will provide the prosecutor's office with a technical space to present the body of evidence that supports the criminal accusation. So this time period is another delay to give the prosecutor's office more time to build their case because exactly, Smash picked it up, they don't have a case. They need more time to build their case. It literally says here, this point will provide the prosecutor's office, the prosecutor is the United States, the defense is Maduro, with a technical space to present the body of evidence that supports the criminal accusation. They still have to actually put their case together. More time to bribe their equivalent of DPRK defectors, yes. So this is just a postponement, and this is another thing that we're taking into consideration while we're evaluating any media, is that we currently have 2 kidnapped victims who are beloved by the people of Venezuela, who they would ideally want to see returned, healthy, happy, safe, and alive. Like, obviously. That is the ideal situation that they want for them. But their revolution did not end simply because Maduro is here. The revolution began without Maduro. The revolution is going to persist without Maduro. But Delcy Rodriguez is the acting president. They haven't replaced Maduro. He is still the state leader. He still does address Venezuela too. He gets to send the messages, and they publish it on AVN. They have a whole tab called President. And recently he was addressing Venezuela over the Catholic holidays, talking to them to have faith and hope. These are all messages right here from Maduro to the people of Venezuela. He's still talking to them. He's still communicating, and he's still trying to inspire and invigorate them. But we have to consider the fact that the United States was able to violently extract their leader and their first lady, the head of state and their first lady, and that the people of Venezuela are responding in a way that would hopefully get them returned to them, alive. Nicolas Maduro is beloved by the people of Venezuela. They want to see him returned. They're not going to stop their revolution, but they would like to see him returned. I would like to point out that we still have not had an earthquake. Up next, we're going backwards in time now. So remember, this was just published recently. The trial was supposed to happen on the 22nd, so 2 days ago, the first hearing, or one of the hearings. And it's been postponed to July. They've postponed him a few times, too. Arrest and then investigate, as Autistic Baddie says, is true. A target attack on the gay bomb squad. Comrades, I want to let you know that Fortnite is having a Pride season right now, and they put a gay bomb as one of the sprays in the Pride season. I need to steal it. We're stealing from Fortnite. I don't care. We're stealing it and using it on this channel. It's Fortnite. Let me show you. Can you see it? This is a gay bomb. Is this not a gay bomb? We're stealing. I took a screenshot so I can cut it out using like a background removing tool. That's our gay bomb now. That's our gay bomb now. Just like all gay bombs, those are ours. Basically, everyone I talk to IRL just shrugs their shoulders that the U.S. kidnapped Maduro. It looks like a rainbow. Oh, and maybe it's because of the phone and then the webcam quality thing. But when I get it out of here and then into a computer, you'll be able to tell much better. It is like a hand grenade that you pull the pin and throw, but it's disco rainbow print. But Obsess is correct.
Are you gay?
Yes, I am gay. And all of you will be gay too as soon as chat. Whoever has a sub, fire a game bomb right now while I talk about how the U.S. is a terrorist state. Everyone I talk to, IRL, just shrugs their shoulders that the U.S. kidnapped Maduro. It doesn't seem like they have an appropriate response.
That's why I support revolution. The revolution that feeds the children gets my support.
Thank you. Welcome in. Thank you for the follow, Latex Rule. We are talking about Maduro and Venezuela, and we're supporting socialism today. We're supporting the Bolivarian Revolution. It doesn't feel like people have an appropriate response. So this was published April 17th. It looks like it was updated last April 22nd.
9 out of 10 of those dollars goes to build the infrastructure to subsidize the capital investment of the private corporation.
10 subs. Wow. It's a hype train. Thank you for the hype train. W, thank you so much for the hype train. We're going for, I guess, a golden kappa emote. Golden kappa train is what it says on the top. Thank you so much for the 10 sub. I really appreciate that, Comrade Cunt. Everyone uncensor Comrade Cunt's name in the chat, please. That's going to go towards a new computer setup. It's going to give you higher quality content. Thank you so much. It says Golden Kappa Train. I don't know what that means, comrades.
9 out of 10 of those dollars goes to build the infrastructure to subsidize
W5
the capital investment of the private corporation.
Thank you, Smash. Thank you, Kami Jesus. W subs.
9
wow.
out of 10 of those dollars goes to build the infrastructure to subsidize the capital investment of the private corporation.
I need to tell Twitch to pay me so I can update this bar with the accurate number. I don't know how much money I have to pay Twitch and my bank for when I get the money from Twitch. Tell Twitch to pay me the money. Jeff Bezos, run me my money so I can update the coffee bar above my head. I don't know exactly what I'm at. So, how did we gift 16 subs just now and Hegel's Big Dialecticals doesn't have one? 50% of the tier cost. Yeah, so 50%, I see exactly how much of that comes into my floating payout.
9 out of 10 of those dollars goes to build the infrastructure to subsidize the capital investment of the private corporation.
I see how much of that is like floating in my like payout, but after the payout, I don't know how much in fees I'm gonna lose from the transition from Twitch to my bank. Is the only thing I'm concerned about, because there is like an implication of fees there, but that I just want to update it accurately. I think it's like probably like 2 to 5% or something. I don't know, something outrageous. I do. We are trying to have solidarity with the Bolivarian Revolution. Smash. I do have to play Trisha. We will reserve. Jesus, you'll get one Trisha Paytas play at a time that is not so important to be focused. Jesus, you get to take and hold one reserve card of Trisha Paytas. I'm just letting you know this. Yes, you get to hold one Trisha Paytas. It does not happen now. You hold one Trisha Paytas. All right. I'm going to we are on level 5. We're setting a hype train record. I appreciate you so much, comrades. Thank you, Heggles. Thank you. I appreciate that. I do see you like very active in stream shouting me out. I always have to check because it just says it just says that I get shouted out when another mod does it, so I have to actually go into the mod actions and see the recent history. But I do appreciate how often you do. Thank you. So this is Release the Prisoners of War, President Maduro and Deputy Celia Flores. So it's not just like First Lady, but their deputy. Lacking the capacity to seize the mineral reserves all at once, the invaders withdrew, kidnapping the presidential couple. Brito stated in his analysis. Okay, that's like a little... This is by Luis Brito Garcia, so that's who wrote this little caption, little snippet of what's to come. The elaborate military invasion... Also, all of this was translated out of Spanish and into English by Google, so if the phrasing or language is maybe a little bit peculiar, we can blame Google for that specifically. The elaborate military invasion of Venezuela with aircraft carriers, battleships, nuclear submarines, 150 fighter bombers and helicopters, a deluge of missiles and task forces turned out to be a real disappointment. 3 months after the attack, and despite incursions by astute intelligence agencies like the CIA and officials from Southern Command, not a single member of the fictitious Cartel of the Suns had been located. Not one. Such powerful intelligence agencies haven't found a single member of the long-defunct Trinidad gang. Not even close. They found even fewer caches of illicit substances. Not even close. Nor did they find the alleged 70% of voters who supposedly cast their vote for the bland candidate Gonzalez in the 2024 elections. In short, they had no business being here. Not a single one of the objectives set and publicly declared for the mission was achieved. Not a single square meter of territory was conquered. Not a single soldier was stationed there, nor was even the smallest outpost established. The only thing the invaders surprisingly found was the world's largest reserves of fossil fuels and gold, as well as the president legitimately in charge of managing them, and his spouse, the First Lady and Congresswoman Celia Flores. Lacking the capacity... Thank you for the golden kappa train.
9 out of 10 of those dollars goes to build the infrastructure to subsidize the capital investment of the private corporation.
We have they ate. Oh my god, look at these emotes. Golden kappa, they ate. This one is for the girls and the gays. This is for us. Look at this emote we unlocked. They're eating like a whole chicken leg. Lacking the capacity to seize the mineral reserves at once, the invaders withdrew, kidnapping the presidential couple. So, back up again. They invaded, with aircraft carriers, battleships, nuclear submarines, 150 fighter bombers, helicopters, a deluge of missiles, and task force. They didn't find any of the long-defunct Tren de Aragua in the capital. They didn't find any of the fictitious Cartel of the Suns. They didn't find any illicit substances. They didn't find any of the voters, the majority of voters, who were supposedly voted for Gonzalez. They had no business being here. Instead, what they found, the world's largest supply of fossil fuels and gold, which is not just literal capital, but also used in technology. And so, lacking the capacity to seize the reserves at once, the invaders withdrew, kidnapping the presidential couple. All they had left was the kidnapping of the president. There was nothing there that implied a dictatorial regime. There was nothing there that implied authoritarianism. There was nothing there that implied that Maduro was the head of Tren de Aragua or working with Tren de Aragua. Nothing. So they left with kidnapping him instead. We already know that on January 5th, 2026, Nicolas Maduro Moros declared, "I am the president of Venezuela. I consider myself a prisoner of war." Indeed, the president, kidnapped during a foreign military invasion, is also the commander of the armed forces of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. According to Article 236 of the Constitution of the Republic, whose numeral 4 entrusts him with directing the national armed forces in his capacity as commander-in-chief, exercising supreme hierarchical authority over them and determining their size. So it's not just the president of their country who is in charge of the economy and foreign relations and diplomacy and projects across the country. He's also in charge of their armed forces. It's a military strategy as well to remove him and take him out of the equation. We then have the fact that the commander-in-chief of the Venezuelan armed forces was kidnapped during a military invasion by the United States Army. This makes the application of the Geneva Convention relative to the treatment of prisoners of war, adopted on August 12, 1949, mandatory. In this regard, Article 4 states, A. Prisoners of war within the meaning of this convention are persons belonging to one of the following categories who fall into power of the enemy. 1. Members of the armed forces of a party to the conflict, as well as members of militias and volunteer corps forming part of these armed forces. The rights recognized in the aforementioned convention are inalienable. As its Article 7 states, prisoners of war may not, under any circumstances, waive, in whole or in part, the rights granted to them in this convention and, where appropriate, in the special agreements referred to the preceding article. May not, under any circumstances, waive, in whole or in part, rights granted to them in this convention. They cannot say, I waive my rights. It's just not allowed. So again, we know that international law doesn't apply to America. But it is important to stress how we are violating international law as opposed to blowing it away. That is why a lot of Americans are able to hand wave, oh, we kidnapped the head of a state, and they just hand wave it away. Is like, we have never taken international law seriously, and so the application and consideration of it as like we are violating international treaties and international law needs to be a concern that we bring up so that people are aware of our actions and the reality of them. We aren't saying like, oh, we're going to be held accountable soon because the police of the international court are coming for American leadership. That's like not happening. The Geneva Convention is not coming for American politicians or leadership in any way, right? But it's important to make people who are just like us, other workers, understand the severity of our actions as a country. They need to know because this helps them become class conscious on an international level. 1 second, comrades. Prisoners of war cannot be held in prisons for common criminals. In this regard, oh, thank you, Kami Jesus. In this regard, Article 22 of the aforementioned convention stipulates the detaining power shall group prisoners of war into camps or selections of camps, taking into account their nationality, language, and customs. So this says they should be held with prisoners of the same war, especially if its nationality, language, and customs should be similar. I'm gonna grab a water so I can hydrate. Nicolas Maduro is in like a state prison.
Bom dia. Bom dia.
Bom dia. He's being held in like a state prison, I believe, like just like a regular ass max security prison. The nature and condition of these camps, categorically distinct from penal colonies, is categorically determined in Article 39, which states, each prisoner of war camp shall be under the direct authority of a designated officer from the regular armed forces of the detaining power. This officer shall have the text of this convention ensure that these provisions are made well known to the personnel under his command, and assume, under the direction of his government, responsibility for their implementation. Nor may kidnappers impose degrading or humiliating clothing on prisoners of war that attempts to reduce their status as captives to a humiliating one. To this effect, Article 18 of the Convention stipulates that prisoners of war shall not be deprived of their rank insignia, nationality insignia, decorations, or, in particular, objects of personal or sentimental value. Prisoners have the right to wear and display the clothing, uniforms, and insignia appropriate to their rank, both in their daily lives and when appearing before their captors. For greater clarity, Article 40 states the use of graduation and nationality badges as well as decorations will be authorized. They should be allowed to wear their military uniforms. Is what this says. They shouldn't be made to wear like civilian clothing, or make it appear as they're less than what their rank or status actually is. This would be a way of like presenting Nicolas Maduro to the public as like not a head of state. Essentially, it's a humiliation ritual. Yeah. Let me catch up. I have not been looking at the chat while I was reading. Keep your streamer nice and water so they can grow a nice, healthy community like a beautiful garden. So true. The clothing thing is Obsess. Are you talking about the clothing thing? I didn't know that was a thing until Israel started doing it. I think treating prisoners of war as if they are not prisoners of war is I never considered it, right? But like now that I'm being made aware of it, I'm like, this is an obvious propaganda technique, right? I'm like, oh, of course they would do this. Of course they would do something that would strip them of their rank status, and you wouldn't understand how important this person is, maybe, out of context. Do you remove their context? Oh no, please recruit everyone for my Solomon as well. Strip the person of their context, and people can assume whatever they want about them. Although war is a state of exception that abruptly suspends many rights, it does not eliminate or suspend the right of prisoners. Thus, Article 84 of the aforementioned convention, I can fish when I get a new computer of my own, I will install Steam, and I will install Lurkbait. If this is the motivating factor that gets people to help me purchase a computer, I will put Lurkbait into this chat when I have my own computer. You will be able to actually fish. Yes. However, it is literally an app that you install, and it's not like it's like its own game that runs in the background. So it just was never gonna happen on mine. It probably won't happen on Madeline's. I have to be honest. So it sounds very complicated. But you can fish once I can purchase my own computer. Thus, Article 84 of the aforementioned convention stipulates that only military tribunals may try a prisoner of war unless the legislation of the detaining power expressly authorizes civilian courts to try a member of the armed forces of that power for an offense similar to that which gave rise to the change against the prisoner. In other words, prisoners of war cannot be tried or convicted by ordinary criminal courts. I'm going to be buying a refurbished computer. I've been looking them up. I can buy a refurbished computer that is typically would go for much more for way cheaper. Thank you, Ghost in the Cell. Welcome in, by the way. I have a few that are on bookmark that I should be able to purchase with relative cheapness. And also, I wouldn't be purchasing new minerals to be mined from colonized countries. The same article also stipulates that... Oh, no. Yeah, this one is the right one. The same article also stipulates that in no case shall a prisoner of war be brought before any tribunal whatsoever that does not offer the essential guarantees of independence or impartiality generally recognized, and in particular, that its proceedings do not guarantee the accused the rights and means of defense provided for in Article 105. PayPal is also trying to get me to be a crypto freak, my Salamam. I'm not thrilled with PayPal right now, but it seems to be the only way to be paid out from the various sources that Twitch streamers use. It is very annoying. It seems to be the easy way to just like... It's the only one that is like all the different streamer payouts. It's the only one that they all use. Otherwise, I have to get like 4 different payout services, and that's not gonna happen. So it is annoying. It is so annoying. I keep clicking on it, thinking I'm clicking into like my bank section, because it's just called like wallet, I think. And I'm like, yeah, that's my card. No, it's crypto. It's tricking me. It's a massive hassle at UE because it isn't available where we need it. Ugh, that sucks. Yeah. The provision is particularly relevant in violation of the 6th Amendment to the United States Constitution. The procedural farce initiated against Nicolas Maduro Moros is brought before the civil and criminal jurisdiction of a court without competence to decide on events that occurred in Venezuela, prolongs unjustified postponements and delays, and blocks the funds essential to pay for his defense. So this article, and also the one that they're talking about up here that says they only can be tried by military court and they can't be tried in a regular court. Like they can't, like he's not, why would we hold him civilly liable for American law? How is Maduro liable for American law? No, he's not even being tried in military court. Or he might be, actually. I don't want to say that. It's this article. This paragraph here is saying that the article should prevent him from being tried in civil court. That is the correct. It did not say he's not being tried in military court. It did not say that. This paragraph says that the article says he should not be tried in civil court as well. So it sounds like they are trying him in civil court as well. How can he be liable for, even if he did break an American law? Even if he did break an American law, how can we hold him accountable? Is there some 5D chess reason for the kidnapping, or is it really as simple as brute spite? They talked about it up here. I can't, it won't let me highlight. Although war is a state of exception. Comrades, remember this paragraph as our bookmark. I can't highlight for bookmark. Up top here, it says that they went in with it was like the only thing left that they could do was kidnap Maduro. the only thing left that they could do was kidnap Maduro. So it says they came in with like a ton of military equipment, right? Aircraft carriers, battleships, nuclear submarines, fighter bombers, helicopters, missiles, task forces. They could not find not a single member of the fictitious Cartel of the Suns. Not a single member of the long-defunct Tren de Aragua, like defunct in Caracas. They found even fewer caches of illicit substances. They found no drugs. They found none of the alleged 70% of voters who supposedly voted for the bland candidate Gonzalez in 2024. So no suppression of the voters. In short, they had no business being here. Not a single one of the objectives set and publicly declared for the mission was achieved. So right here, this sentence here says why they kidnapped the president. Not a single one of the objectives set and publicly declared for the mission was achieved. Down to the next paragraph. The only thing the invaders found was the world's largest reserves of oil and gold. Lacking the capacity to seize the mineral reserves, the oil and gold, the invaders withdrew, kidnapping the presidential couple. So this was like 0.5 or 6 on the checklist aims for the mission, so they just, yes, exactly that, Obsis. They couldn't take the gold and oil out of the state right away. They couldn't just assume control of the gold and the oil. They found no evidence of illegal activity. They found none of the gangs, none of the drugs, none of that. They found none of the oppression. They only found gold, oil, and a legitimate president, and so they just took the president. And so that's what happened. We already know that on January 5th, Nicolas Maduro declared that he is a prisoner of war. And so that's this whole section. That was the whole entrance right here. This is what their stated goal was. They were looking for the Cartel of the Sun, Tren de Aragua. They were looking for drugs. They were looking for signs of brutality and oppression. And they found a legitimate president and the world's largest reserves of gold and oil. And so they left with the president instead. All right, where are we? Is it the same article? It's up one. It's up one. Up one. Although the war is a state of exception. There we are. No, it's one down. Sorry, it is this article. Same article also stipulates. This is why I can't highlight. It won't let me highlight on this page. Can't. So I couldn't bookmark it. I have to scroll up just a little. Just bonkers, yeah. The U.S. I thought the U.S. literally invented the Cartel of the Sun. Yeah, so it says in the article like completely non-existent. It says the non-existent Cartel of the Sun. It does specify with that. This provision is particularly relevant when, in violation of the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution, the procedural farce initiated against Nicolas Maduro Moros is brought before the civil and criminal jurisdiction of a court without competence to decide on events that occurred in Venezuela, prolongs unjustified postponements and delays, and blocks the funds essential to pay for his defense. So, the fact that Nicolas Maduro is in America awaiting a court case in a civil and criminal court in America is another tactic to delay and slow the ability of Venezuela to help them. The term Cartel of the Suns was first used in 1993. Not the Cartel of the Suns being born the same year as me. Oh, not me and the Cartel of the Suns being the same age. As a journalistic label following a political scandal involving Venezuelan military officials who were implicated in a CIA plot to smuggle cocaine. Hold on. Implicated in a CIA plot? So it was a CIA plot. Am I wrong? Twinsies! So it was a CIA plot, though. CIA dealing drugs again. Once again, comrades, if you don't know, the largest drug trafficking cartel in the entire negative term cartel, like in the negative sense of the word cartel, the largest drug cartel in the entire world is the CIA. The CIA owned airlines. The CIA owned shipping companies. The CIA was everywhere, owned media, etc. They bribed police officers around the world. They bribed all sorts of people. All to ship drugs because we didn't fund them directly. They made all their money selling drugs. They still probably do. They still probably do. The opium fields of Afghanistan, yeah. Air America pilots who were oftentimes shipping just entire plane loads of cocaine thought that they were shipping like regular stuff or transporting. They thought they were working for a regular airline, and they would land cocaine in airplanes. And my Selim says, cocaine in airplanes. They thought they were flying for regular people. They would land and they would like look back over their shoulder and it would be like riddled with bullet holes. And they would be like, why is my plane covered in bullet holes? Because they thought they were just a normal ass pilot. Yeah, there's no way they gave up that source of income. That's so true. Comrades, I'm going to very quickly read through the end of this article. We are a few minutes out from an ad break, and then we're going to go take an ad break. I'm going to have another article pulled up, and we're going to keep reading. It's solidarity with the Bolivarian Revolution today, comrades. We now understand the military operation way better. Let me just finish this up, and we understand the conditions Nicolas Maduro is being held in. Article 118 of the aforementioned convention stipulates that prisoners of war shall be released and repatriated without delay after the cessation of active hostilities. The war against Venezuela was initiated without a declaration and without the indispensable authorization of the United States Congress, and it continues until a peace treaty is signed in accordance with current international law and respectful of our sovereignty. Until a treaty is signed with current and international law and specifically respectful of our sovereignty. That is the important part there. Some may argue that the conflict ends with the de facto resignation of the Venezuelan government. If this is the case, our president and first lady should be released and repatriated immediately, with the issue of reparations and compensation remaining to be determined. Others will say that legal arguments are useless when the situation involves force. If this is the case, then the Americans' legal arguments and the consequences they attempt to derive from them would also be worthless. Illegitimate force does not create rights except the right to restore, by force itself, the violated right. Bars. Absolute bars on the last line there. Legal arguments are useless when the situation involves force. If this is the case, then the Americans' legal arguments and the consequences they attempt to derive from them would also be worthless. Illegitimate force does not create rights, except the right to restore, by force itself, the violated right. That's bars. America has no right to do this. What are we looking at? Oh, the term referring to where Cartel of the Suns came from. Copy that. It seems like the term was specifically invented by America to cover up a CIA operation. It was us the whole time. All right, comrades, please enjoy some Liberation Radio while we go to an ad break. And when we be back, I'll have another article ready for us.
own. Diamond watches don't work for kids in Sierra Leone. Nike dunks don't look correct on kids who's into the bone. The battle's in vain if you ain't related back home. JOHNNY Big Five. Supply the demand to give Bam some bounce in your stride. From my pod to my dogs, old Cutlass Supreme. The soundtrack music to do the things to free our streets. From PIGs and DTs and Patriot Acts. Immigrant cats who rob folks with government gats. I trouble the facts that they get, the lies that they spew. I'm rhyming for you, I'll take those bullets proudly for you. I'm through with the fussing, cousin, I'm trying to topple them all. Native gun, tag it up all on your city hall wall. Yeah. I mean, that's just not my style, man. I don't bother with fussing, I don't bother with fighting. Come on, homie. Buck Taylor,
Buck Taylor make the song I like, make it good up on me. Buck Taylor make it sound so nice, sound killer but tea.
I don't cater to what big business say. I'm here to shut the shop down like it's Christmas Day. I heard a Christian say that he ain't like what I say, but he ain't say it to my face, so I don't give a F-U-K. Anyway, Johnny Fever said to stick to the theme, but too much caffeine can get me all defensive and things. To get me plucking on these triggers like a guitar string, and popping off at the mouth like an M16. You are investing in something interesting, with every ingesting of every word that I sing. Why do I bother with the piece? I should revert to the street and put some holes in your Francis Moore and Jabot jeans. But no. I chose the path of the right. No fuss, me, no fight, but don't test, not nice. Cause each knuckle in the scuffle will break you off right. And I'll be walking off humming songs by Dusty White.
I no bother with no fuss, no bother with no fight.
Everybody sing.
I no bother with no fuss, no bother.
I'm trying to get everybody on the same page with me. We don't bother with fussing and fighting.
No bother with no fight.
But if I got to, I will defend myself, right?
I no bother with no
Right?
fuss, no bother with no fight.
Don't get it twisted. I told you, man. Don't make the wrong move. Know the true enemy, bruh. Come on, homie. Not my style.
Welcome back, comrades. We are continuing our solidarity with the Bolivarian Revolution. And now we are going to talk about Delcy Rodriguez a little bit. This was published May 28th. Remember, we're going backwards in time. Up next, we have a few articles that are all from June. Or we're coming from backwards in time. Hinterlaces, 67% of Venezuelans approved the fight against corruption. The polling firm Hinterlaces presented the results of its most recent Monitor País study for May 2026 through its official Instagram account, revealing that a large majority of the Venezuelan population positively values the actions and abilities of Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez. The nationwide research methodologically based on a direct sampling of 900 interviews across the territory focused on accurately measuring citizens' perceptions of executive leadership and the state policies implemented in the current national context. According to the statistical data from the survey, 67% of respondents categorized as true the statement that the national leader has taken a tough approach to combat corruption head-on, in contrast to 30% who perceived it as false, and a slight 3% who preferred not to answer. 67% of people say that the current leader has taken a tough approach to combat corruption. Similarly, the survey explored the Venezuelan people's confidence in the government's ability to address daily challenges. The data collection instrument determined that 66% of citizens believe that acting President Delcy Rodriguez has the necessary capacity to solve the country's problems, while 30% disagreed and 4% abstained from expressing an opinion. This recent public opinion study has a margin of error plus or minus about 3.5%. Comment, what is our last, 5 presidents, what was their approval rating? At, any point. Was any of it ever as high as 66% approval? When was the last time we had a president who had an approval rating, anywhere into it that was, above 65%? Above 65%. We're getting into major, super majority population numbers here, right? 66% of citizens believed that acting President Delcy Rodriguez has the necessary capacity to solve the country's problems. Potentially Obama? I don't know. They hated him. They being, the conservatives. I hate him for different reasons. Maybe Kennedy? JFK? This is their Secretary General of the United States Socialist Party of Venezuela, Cabello? Probably Cabello. It's E.
A horse.
Whose ex-wife? What are we... Oh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We can't know everything that every celebrity did. Always, you know? Not excusing anything, but didn't his ex-wife accuse him of abuse, question mark? Potentially present it next time as oh, did you know that this is a concern with a link? The question format kind of accuses us of not being aware of something that we should be aware of. We can't know everything about every celebrity. I haven't looked at any of Jeremy Renner's personal life. I'm just sort of letting chat talk about him. Diosdado Cabello, Secretary General of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, PSUV, categorically rejected reports of alleged negotiations between the national government and opposition leader Maria Corina Machado. He described the rumors as falsehoods created by the opposition itself to generate false expectations. During his remarks, Cabello emphasized that this information is entirely false and part of narratives fabricated by opposing groups. He also dismissed the existence of secret meetings and urged the public not to spread the claims circulating about these alleged overtures. The government spokesperson countered these rumors with official mechanisms, noting that a broad national dialogue process has been underway in the country since the beginning of the Bolivarian administration. He specified that this institutional framework guarantees the participation and voice of sectors historically excluded from politics. Finally, the parliamentary representative reiterated that within the ruling party, there are no reports or records regarding the alleged tasks with the opposition. With these statements, the political group reaffirms its position of denying the media reports concerning bilateral agreements outside the legal framework. Comrades, based on this right here, we're taking Diosdado Cabello, Secretary General of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, at his word. Is Venezuela working with the opposition? Is Venezuela working with Maria Machado? I'm going to say goodbye really quick to my husband. He's about to leave for work. I'll be right back, comrades. My husband just said that we might be able to go out. We might be able to go out tonight when he gets home from work, comrades. A vegetarian steakhouse.
You said vegetarian. What's the steakhouse? Okay.
We're gonna go to a vegetarian steakhouse. I love you. Bye. Comrades, what do you think's on the menu at a vegetarian steakhouse? What's on the menu at a vegetarian steakhouse? Thank you, Autistic Batty 3. No, I wasn't, sorry, I'm sorry if I came off as, like, reprimanding. I'm just saying that when you're providing information about, like, specifically, like, about, like, celebrities, because you have to also think about, like, how many of them there are, right? So many celebrities. Everyone has a celebrity that they kind of pay more attention to than others. Maybe you don't even pay attention to Jeremy Renner, and you just happen to come across this piece of information. Just like when you're informing people of like something a celebrity did, sometimes it's a lot easier to just be like, hey, this is actually what he did with the citation. It's always the claim and citation thing. It's the claim and citation thing, right? But I do appreciate the saying, like, acknowledging that you said accused, like you weren't making a complete claim. It just my whole thing is like, let's cite the source as well to follow up the claim too. Not saying anything about Jeremy Renner. Like I said, I just don't know him at all. But Secretary General Cabello says they're not working with Maria Machado. And says specifically that Maria Machado and opposition have just been saying this. They're just saying this. Any claims that they're making are categorically false. This one is another important one in my opinion. This one I believe is a short article, but it lets you know the direction the Venezuelan people are thinking. Vice Minister Castillo highlights economic recovery and greater awareness of the impact of sanctions. This was published June 15th, so we're catching up, comrades. It's June 24th. The Vice Minister of Anti-Blockade Policies, William Castillo, stated that Venezuela is consolidating a stage of sustained economic recovery and assured that the population is increasingly recognizing the effects of sanctions on the daily life, employment, and the performance of strategic sectors of the country. No worries, my Solomon. Castillo, no one say anything too funny while Solomon is gone. Castillo emphasized to national media that the economy maintained 20 consecutive quarters of growth since the end of 2021. That's amazing. 20 consecutive quarters of growth. And noted that the recovery process began after the economic measures implemented by President Nicolas Maduro in 2018. According to him, this performance made Venezuela one of the fastest growing economies in South America during the post-pandemic period. Sanctions kill people. By Juche, I was dealing with the scariest letter. Oh, tell us about it, London's Best Gay. So Nicolas Maduro instituted economic measures in 2018 that caused, after the pandemic, of course, like after the relaxing of pandemic procedures, etc. Of course, the pandemic is going on. I think people have to have like maybe a little bit more discernment when it comes to like pandemic era and going, well, the pandemic is still ongoing because obviously the conditions are different now. But I understand that like COVID is still a major concern for obviously the disabled community as a whole and everyone because it is disabling. But post-pandemic era, when procedures were relaxing and changing, is when the economic recovery of Venezuela hit 20 consecutive quarters of growth. So, and that was because of Nicolas Maduro, their dictator, helping the economy get extremely strong, which of course benefits all people in the country. The official recalled that the recovery plan emerged amidst a complex economic situation. The president told the country that night This cannot have short-term results because the damage they have done to us is very serious. He added that process subsequently faced the additional impact of the pandemic. He also highlighted the performance of the oil industry during 2016. For the first time this year, we have had 5 months with average production above 1.1 million barrels. The projection is to reach 1.5 million if this trend continues or more by the end of the year. If we reach that figure by the end of the year, it will be half of what we produced, less than half of what we produced in 2015. So you can see how much the oil industry has fallen, how much the Venezuelan economy has fallen. Despite the progress, he maintained that the process still requires greater efforts and called for preserving strategies aimed at strengthening national economic activity and productive recovery. Comrades, can you tell me what happened that caused Nicolas Maduro to implement economic measures in 2018? Why did Nicolas Maduro have to implement new economic measures in 2018? Because Donald Trump levied heavy sanctions against Venezuela in 2017. There is it an OECR report? It's fine. We're talking about Venezuela, so I can finally bring it up and have it be relevant. Let me find it. There is a report done by Jeffrey Sachs called Economic Sanctions as Collective Punishment, the Case for Venezuela. I'm in the PDF, and once I highlight it, I will. Here we are. I'm going to share this tab, and we'll go back. This is an article by Jeffrey Sachs that was presented, I believe, to the UN. It's a CEPR report, and it says, we find that sanctions have inflicted, this is from in Venezuela in 2017, we find that sanctions have inflicted and increasingly inflict very serious harm to human life and health, including an estimated more than 40,000 deaths from 2017 to 2018, and that these sanctions would fit the definition of collective punishment of the civilian population, as described in both the Geneva and Hague international conventions, to which the U.S. is a signatory. They are also illegal under international law and treaties which the U.S. has signed and would appear to violate U.S. law as well. 40,000 deaths from 2017 to 2018. Which is why Maduro implemented economic reforms in 2018, which the country, after COVID, saw economic recovery as a result of. 20 quarters. It's an entire town. Yeah, that is actually like, that's 1/4 of my city. That's 1/4 of the city that I live in. That's 1/4 of the California context for me. 1/4 of the California city I live in. Not a normal city. Most other cities are smaller. We have population density problems here. But they're not imperial soldiers, so does it really count? Yeah, true. That's how Americans kind of perceive it. Despite the progress, oh wait, hold on, we're down here. Yeah. Regarding coercive measures, Castillo stated that between 80 to 90% of the population identifies sanctions as having a negative impact on the country. He noted that many families associated their consequences with the loss of purchasing power, unemployment, and the migration processes observed during the most difficult years of the crises. Wages, hyperinflation, capital flight, business closures, the deputy minister mentioned, referring to some of the effects he attributed to that economic context. He also asserted that Venezuelans developed adaptation mechanisms in face of difficulties and praised the resilience shown during the years of the greatest economic restrictions and during the COVID-19 pandemic. Those poor, indoctrinated victims of an authoritarian state just should have voted better. Big slash S. Yeah. Negative impact is an understatement. It really is. The negative impact is an understatement. These families are losing their friends and families. like family members, right? They're losing people. It's not just loss of job. It's not just loss of business. It's loss of life. They can't afford medicine. Venezuela Diversa is an LGBTQ organization in Venezuela who cites frequently.
That's why I support revolution. The revolution that feeds the children gets my support.
Thank you so much for the follow. Ballerina. Thank you so much. Welcome in, Ballerina. Welcome to the Gay Bomb Squad. Venezuela Diversa frequently cites economic sanctions as the reason why people do not have access to antiretrovirals. Sanctions are the reason why people do not have access to hormone replacement therapy. Comrades, antiretrovirals are not just a medication for queer people. It's not just gay people who get HIV. HIV affects the entire population. It does. Obviously not everyone has it, but anyone in the population can get HIV. Having zero access to antiretrovirals means that you are waiting. You are waiting for bad news from your doctor. We are in a current time in history with medical developments where you can live a long, happy, healthy, fulfilling life with few complications with HIV. You can have a romantic partner who never contracts HIV, right? They're reporting zero access to antiretrovirals in Venezuela under economic sanctions. This is from June 17th. Delcy Rodriguez, energy agreements seek well-being of the Venezuelan people. Yes, fuck America and fuck pinkwashing. So yeah, the understanding like people are like, well, what about gay people who are oppressed in these socialist countries because they don't have rights? Venezuela Diversa recognizes that the Venezuelan Constitution, is one of the most progressive in Latin America, and they recognize sanctions as the primary cause of their fight and struggle. So queer people are standing in solidarity with the Bolivarian Revolution. Acting President Delcy, this is a short one. Acting President Delcy Rodriguez emphasized on Wednesday that the agreement signed in the hydrocarbon and electricity sectors aimed to benefit the Venezuelan people. We reaffirm that every agreement we sign in the area of hydrocarbons and electricity is aimed at the well-being and the prosperity of the Venezuelan people, Rodriguez stated through her Telegram channel. The president recalled, this is a Google translation issue. The president recalled that a memorandum of understanding was signed this Tuesday between Petróleos de Venezuela, PDVSA, and the company Repsol. The president emphasized that this agreement aims to expand oil production and promote a shared energy agenda toward 2050. I'm taking 67%, 66%, 67% of Venezuelans say that Delcy Rodriguez has the capacity to help Venezuela and solve their problems. So when Delcy Rodriguez says these deals are for the good of the people, yes, 6-7, we are believing her. We believe Delcy Rodriguez. We believe the Venezuelan people. They're the ones experiencing these in real time. They're the ones living through it day after day. If they say that they are surviving and persisting, we believe them. Welcome in, Lord Oxium. This one is important. Comrade, what is a people's government specific? What does it specifically mean that a people's government consists of? What is a people's government? What is a people's state? What is a dictatorship of the proletariat? What does it require for it to be a dictatorship of the proletariat? What does it require? It requires worker participation. It requires the voice of the people, right? Workers participate in consultation in Caracas for the restructuring of the government. Representatives of the worker sector participated this Thursday in a consultation in Caracas for the restructuring and reengineering of the government, a proposal by the acting president of the Republic, Delcy Rodriguez. During the sectoral meeting, reflections were received on labor and social rights, public service, and state-owned companies, according to a press release. The Presidential Commission indicated that opinions and proposals will also be collected through the website. The website that you can submit opinions in. Don't do it, comrades. And at workplace assemblies. All of these will be compiled into a final report, along with relevant recommendations, to be submitted to the National Executive. The head of the commission, Hector Rodriguez, reiterated that this initiative does not contemplate mass layoffs or a rollback of labor and social rights achieved to date. In regard, he affirmed the goal is to expand and strengthen them further. Hector Rodriguez reiterated that this initiative does not contemplate mass layoffs or a rollback of labor and social rights achieved to date. They're not even thinking about rolling back social rights. They're not thinking about rolling back labor rights. They're not even thinking about it. The goal is to expand and strengthen them further, he says. This government restructuring and reengineering initiative is based on guaranteeing and respecting employment, the effectiveness of public services, as well as the economic income and social rights of citizens, he added in his statement. He also recalled that this is not the first time the Bolivarian government has reviewed its progress. President Hugo Chavez did so previously in the so-called Turning Point in 2012, and President Nicolas Maduro has raised the issue on several occasions. Today, we must support the acting president in this task she has called upon us to undertake, to make the government more efficient, transparent, and democratic, and to adapt it to those times the country is going through, he stressed. The workers are participating, and it's not even the last time. It's not even the first time that they have restructured this. It's not even the first time they have restructured this. Maduro was restructuring the government. Hugo Chavez was restructuring the government. All of it with the specific intention and goal of expanding labor and social rights protections. Why are we listening? Comments, why are we listening to a Reuters report that says that they are doing an operation in tandem with the United States military regime and going, oh, well, Venezuela has given up on its revolution? Why are we looking at any report coming out of the West and going, oh, well, Venezuela is doing reforms to comply with with capitalism or American intervention? Why would we assume that? Why would we not, after hearing that report, go to Venezuela, go to their sources, and double check and what their goal or their intention was? Why would we not do that? Their state is a dictatorship of the proletariat still. They're not having new elections. They're not sending home all of the current representatives. We must go to Venezuelan sources. We must listen to them, and we have to trust them. We can't take our government at their word at what's happening. Remember, the Tren de Aragua is defunct in Caracas, but they're not completely defunct in the colony that they exist in. They're in almost an autonomous region, right? So whether or not there is corruption to be concerned about, we know that we are blowing it out of proportion by Western, we are blowing it by Western standards. We're blowing out Tren de Aragua out of proportion. But Tren de Aragua does exist in Venezuela. It exists in a very, very small part and section of Venezuela, right? So how they choose to handle Tren de Aragua, that really is up to them. What we were doing was we were presenting Nicolas Maduro as the head of Tren de Aragua, and we were presenting Tren de Aragua as the government, right? That's not true. That's the context that we need there. We know that they do exist in the most small capacity in actuality. But they are not at every level of the government. Nicolas Maduro is not the head of Tren de Aragua. There's no evidence for that. It's imperative that we go to Venezuela for confirmation, yes. Somebody told me Cuba doesn't have as good as gay rights as other places, so that means communism is bad. Cuba has enshrined gay rights in their constitution. They have better gay rights than the US. Yeah, like Autistic Batty 3 says. All right, comrades. Is the screensaver up right now? Where is Matt? Where is the burger right at? Currently, it is 9:30. This actually, these articles took longer to talk about. I really thought we were gonna spend like 30 minutes on this, just because a lot of these articles are very short compared to what we normally read. It's been 90 minutes. It was actually so good. I thought. No notifications, huh?